minimum wage saga that has been on, and great to know that today we just got the reports where the tripartite committee's report has been submitted to the president. What do you see about this, the suspension of the proposed strike? That shows there's hope for the workers.
Well, I want to believe that there should be hope. Okay?
You want to believe?
Yeah. Because
the strike won't be called off, or the proposal won't be called off, if there is no conditions that have been met or that are about to be met. Or you think organized labor may not be really doing something necessary in that regard?
Well, you see, I am entitled to my opinion. Yes. And I express it because it's my personal opinion. Now, the situation we have today, you know, is positive in the sense that organized labor may have looked at all the indices, all the discussions they've had, and they believe that something better is going to happen. Okay? And is matured to, you know, indicate to go on strike. And if the conditions necessary for going on strike are no longer there, then there's no need going on strike because it's not just mere form.
Okay, thank you.
But if at the end of the day, because this calls for, you know, integrity, it calls for understanding of people's feelings. Because if at the end of the day, this is where I want to advise both Labour and the federal government, please, let whatever has been agreed that necessitated the suspension of this strike be reached. Let it be implemented so that we, Nigerians, should not be disturbed with the harrowing experience of an intention or an impending strike.
Comrade Edward Young Ilenekena, many thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Well, we've been greeted by this great surprise over the suspended strike. Does it mean that there's hope that labor's demand will be met?
Well, there is hope. And we're just starting off the process. And we still have so many hurdles to cross. Because last night, after the federal government and the other parties agreed to present something to the president, the labor sticks to his 30, and the representative of the government is still holding their 24, that means 800 naira a day package to the president.
They're still holding that?
They are still holding it. And, but our encouragement is that they are taking it there for the president to look at. And they booked appointment with the president. Hopefully today, the president will see the submissions of the tripartite committee. And the process will now start off. If the president agrees with either that of labor or still holding the two, it will now go to the Federal Executive Council. From there to the National Economic Council, from there to the Council of State.
Council of State.
Then from the Council of State, if they agree on the 30 or the labor side, they will now prepare it in form of an executive bill for the House, for the National Assembly to pass.
Okay, but
back again.
Okay, but if you know all of this process will be exhausted before the president will now give his decision on that, why going on a proposed strike? Because it was expected that, okay, now that you've called it off, that the demand has been met.
Yes.
Some say that organized labor may not be serious over this.
No, we're quite serious. The thing is that when you are speaking to somebody who is unwilling to do certain things, you try to bend them. It's not an easy thing. For the federal government to even call that meeting now, to even present something to the president, is something that if they were not sure that if the strike commences today, it's going to throw a devastating blow on the economy and the integrity of the government. That is why they now prefer, okay, let us take it there. We are still watching them.
Okay. Episode Okifo, what do you have to say?
Well,
that
like you just said, I feel that labor is not serious actually, because one would have expected that before now, that step would have been taken. Instead of preparing Nigerians for strike, at the last minute, the 11th hour, you are not calling off the strike. By the time the federal government disappoints them, by the time the negotiating team of the federal government now disappoints labor, you see that Nigerians will not take them serious. You understand? Because like they said, they advised Nigerians to stock their houses and be prepared for the strike. And they were ready for it. One would have expected, if they are actually serious about it, one would have expected that they would have done all that, taking the proposal to the president, have an answer before today. You understand? So it's unfair. It's even a thing of wonderment, whereby you start talking about a minimum wage is just 18,000. Then the governors forum now said they'll be able to pay 22,000, which is just an increase of about 4 naira or 6 naira thereabout. It's embarrassing, because if you look at the situation, you look at our political office holders, even the money they get alone for their entertainment, no worker takes it home at the end of the month.
Okay,
You understand? So we are even appalled and surprised that they should be even be considering 24,000 naira as minimum wage for workers.
Thank you. Chima, but don't you see this as organized labor being considerate, like what the Norgay president said over the effect that it will have on the economy if they were to embark on this strike? Don't you see that as a plus?
Well, you see, my brother, serious-minded people take all factors into account before they make statements or before they take steps.
Yes. Yes.
For this, the leadership of the organized labor, most of them are my friends. Okay? But for this, if you're telling me that, as my president has said now, you know, you knew that these are the processes. Why didn't you ask that these processes be concluded before now taking a decision? Now, if we knew that, yes, organized labor have said 30,000 minimum wage, and the governors have offered 22,500 minimum wage, and it has to pass through these processes, why didn't organized labor ask that these processes be escalated? Okay, that it passes through these processes, so that we now know what we are asking for.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Strikes are not used, you know, to play, because you are toiling with emotions,
yes,
passions,
said it,
you know, and the feelings, and even the life of people.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So,
back to you.
Sorry, sir, please, because this is very serious. Okay. Now, if tomorrow these processes you are presenting is not as if I expected him to say that by the discussions, okay, maybe the tripartite team had shifted, labor shifted downwards, and the government side shifted a little bit upwards.
Coming out to a compromise.
You know, no, maybe a compromise have not been reached in any case. Okay, but labor has said, okay, maybe instead of 30, we'll do with 28. And the government negotiating team have said, okay, instead of 22, maybe we'll do 24. And then you are now saying, because, you know, there's been shift of ground, we need, you know, a third party to now balance it up.
Okay, thank you.
This is where, I mean, it would have made more sense.
No.
A lot has been said,
Edward Young. A lot has been said, Edward Young. Now, for organized labor, looking at the way forward, because the president may decide the otherwise. What is the number of days or the duration that you may be given the government to look at it before probably you go on strike again?
You see, before I address that question, let me first of all address the issues my comrades here raised.
Okay.
One, labor is not on the driver's seat. We are only passengers. The federal government is on the driver's seat. What happened initially was that the federal government adjourned the discussion on minimum wage that started November last year, a year this month. They postponed it indefinitely. That is why Labour said, no, you cannot. The minimum wage was overdue in 2016. You must do it now. That was why we called for the first strike, to force the government. I use the word responsible government. You don't force them to doing what they are supposed to do. We forced them to the table. That is why we initiated the first strike. If not that threat of that strike, they were not willing to discuss it at all. Now, coming up to this second issue, Labour, we are very sensitive. We are part of the community. We are part of this nation. We are part of the driving force. We are not willing to take the last straw, which is strike, as a weapon against the federal government. We use it when it now becomes inevitable. And that is the state we are. Now, what happened? The governors that were part of that...
Which you did in September.
Yes.
September 24 precisely.
Yes,
that was a warning strike.
Yes, a warning strike.
Yes.
That was a warning strike.
But even in spite of that, we are still here.
Okay, now, coming up to this present stage, it was that warning strike that forced them to even come up to discuss.
Okay.
And now when they came up to the discussion table, the governor in one side, who were part of the meeting, and now saying, no, we will pay 22,500, which is 750 naira a day. And the federal government came up with their own and said, okay, we are going to pay 800 naira a day. And Labour is saying, no, 1,000 a day. Is that not considerable?
Yeah, but we are getting discordant tunes. Before you proceed, we're getting discordant tunes about what the governor said. Because on one side from the forum, 22,500.
Yes.
Then individual capacities of the governors, they said that whatever the federal government agrees on,
yes,
they are ready to pay.
Yes.
How do you reconcile that?
Now, that will tell you some of the governors, they are insensitive to the workers' needs that are in their own environment. You imagine a state governor will have a security vote of over 500 million every month, and you are saying a worker should go home with 750 naira. They are suggesting it. Now, some governors have said, no, we can pay above that. Now, coming up to the strike,
okay,
when we now came up to say, okay, let's discuss it, they said, no, we are not going to discuss it again. This is the amount we are going to pay. And they went to Aso Rock to discuss with the president and said, this is what we can pay. And the president said, okay, the people who want to pay said they cannot pay, so I cannot force them. It's not affordable. And Labour said, no, they can pay. If that is the case, we'll go on strike. Okay. Because before we went on warning, this time around we'll go on strike. Now, using the last weapons we have to drive the government again. And when they now came up, then the Minister for Labour said we were never part of that discussion. We didn't sign it. And in fact, they refused to sign. In this one they heard yesterday, they were now forced to sign, to at least bring something to the president. Initially, they were not willing to do that.
Which is a big step forward.
Yes, that is why in Labour cycle, you know, my comrades are saying, why should we call it off? Yes, we have to. Because one, the interest of this country is paramount in our mind as Labour leaders. Because when you shut down the economy, it's going to have an adverse effect on us.
Okay, but is it possible? Is it possible that you may demand, or you may demand less than 30,000?
No, that is the bottom line. We cannot go below that, and we have made that clear to them. So, because of the nature, because if you look at, let's take Edo State for instance, when we went on that warning strike, the Board of Internal Revenue will tell you what happened to the revenue they had that month. It went down. The local government will tell you the same thing. Compare it to the federal. Because last night we were willing to shut everything down, and they went to the court. Quickly ran to the court to get an injunction.
Did you receive that?
Yeah. We were never served. And they knew since we were not served, they can't hold us to it. And the strike will proceed. That is why they quickly ran to the table again. And they are playing the pranks. We are watching them. So strike is not something we enjoy doing.
Okay, but the suspension, is it indefinite or for 1 week? Or?
No, it's suspension. We are suspending the strike. You see, we are keeping our gunpowder dry, though we are in the peace table. So as soon as we all meet on the table and we discover they are not playing the card again, then we engineer our members again to go on it, if that is what they understand. But that is not what's supposed to be. In a responsible government, strike should not be the instrument that Labour must use. Allowing us to use it is something we, the labor, don't even enjoy.
Okay, the president said that the aspect of the infrastructural decay that he inherited should have been considered by organized labor in order to accept what is being offered. Don't you think that's correct?
There is a law, and the law says after certain years, you will review the workers' pay. What the president should have done, knowing fully well we have an infrastructural decay, is for the president to first of all repeal that law, so that he will not be guilty of that law.
Okay, is it possible that we can go back there?
No.
Or the government can go back there?
No, we cannot, because the law is there. That certain period in time, you are going to review the worker's salary. So whether you have infrastructural decay, when you were campaigning, you knew there was infrastructural decay. You knew these laws were there. You never considered it, and you took the office only for you to come and tell us we have infrastructural decay. As far as we are concerned, they are part of the bargain you had initially, and we gave him the mandate.
Okay, thank you. Your final shot on this, Ebosele Okifo.
Well, I feel that even labor should consider the interests of Nigerians. And considering the interests of Nigerians is when they even think about going on strike, not even for their salary increment, not even for their welfare, but for the welfare of the entire Nigerians. For instance, one, why should a governor take 500 million security vote home? Why should our political office holders take home so much money as their salary? At the end of the day, the average Nigerian does not take it. We will expect labor to say they are going on strike. One, because the economy is bad. The common man cannot afford 3 square meals in a day. Two, the government should not receive so much money as security vote. Meanwhile, we have insecurity all over the place. You understand? Then we don't have roads in this country. Let the federal government fix the road.
So the government.
Yes,
so
if they go on strike,
yes.
If they do that, listen.
You already
listen.
Infrastructure by
let them not give us that assurance, and they will start taking these issues one after the other and start treating the issues. By the time labor now comes out to say yes, we are striking because our salary has to be increased, you will see that Nigerians will be very happy. They will now say yes, labor has always taken the welfare of the entire Nigerian force into consideration.
Thank you. Barrister Chima, your final shots on this in 1 minute.
Yeah, well, you see, labor, from the explanations of
the president,
Mr.
not the
President,
president,
has done what they think is the best. But for me, you know, in bargaining, because we are all involved in this, okay? In bargaining, you must have your strong points, which you can take to market, okay? So, labor definitely will agitate for workers. If the workers of Nigeria are treated well, you know, some of the problems that we are talking of would be reduced.
Okay.
Okay? So, if Mr. President is talking about infrastructural decay, you know, yes, he should have discussed with labor, not allowing labor to raise the issues before he now talks about the decay.
All right,
so
thank you.
It should have been something that comes out mutually discussed, because of the situation we are in, maybe we know this is the statutory, we can increase by this percentage, just bear with us, because we have to fix other things.
All right.
And then labor will come out to say that we are contributing this to make government fix this.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Comrade Young. As we finalize now, what should Nigerians be expecting?
Yes,
should they be expecting that by tomorrow you will come again with another strike?
I quite agree with him.
So in 1 minute, you have a minute, sir.
Yes, as a leader, you know what is on ground.
Yes.
It is your ability to carry everyone along. Labor shows understanding. When we're in a recession, we never demanded for this increase in salary to be effected. That is an understanding we show. We cannot go on strike on everything. It is true there are other issues labor is supposed to attend to.
Thank you.
But by God's grace, we will attend to all of them as the need arises.
Thank you.
And I wish all the workers well.
Thank you, Comrade Edward Young, Ilemekena. Thank you, Ebosele Okifo, and of course, Williams Chima. Many thanks. Well, that's where we call it a wrap on the discussion segment.